Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today's video is it's a hard one to make. Welcome back to the Daniel's Den podcast, soon to be rebranded as probably Daniel's Domain. And sorry I've been away for so long, guys. It's been an interesting year. Hoping to kick things off again in 2021. Sorry for looking absolutely horrendous right now. I'm taking this after my shower at around, what is it? I forgot to check the time, but it's after 12, December 31st. You know what? As much as I don't like how I look right now, I'm planning on posting this video anyways. Because I said something on my Instagram, which was I want to try to have a post for the end of the year. You know what? I'm going to try my best to stick to that. Although this isn't going to be meeting the usual standards that I normally like to hold, I'm going to try my best here. I thought about so many different things of what I could talk about in this. This is the last video of the year. You know, I thought about politics and all the other things. I took all your submissions in, and I'm planning on doing them on all of them. There's you guys submitted a lot. I thank you for that. But the thing is that I felt in my heart that I just really had to talk about this year. This year has been a really hard, but also really great year for me. I've most definitely loved and lost, and I've most definitely laughed and cried. I think a lot of you have too. Now, to be fair, does that sound like most years? Heck yeah, it does. But I know this year's it's taken its toll on a lot of different people. You know what? I don't know who's gonna see this. I don't know who needs to hear this, but my condolences. Because I feel like a lot of people could have died this year, and a lot of families could be affected by that. It doesn't necessarily have to be Corona either, but, you know, for everyone who's lost this year, I feel for you. One of the reasons why I ended up not doing the podcast for such a long time is because although I was on a momentum and I was going to go for every week until now, actually, I had stuff lined up. I didn't end up doing it. Reason being is because my grandfather died by the time I was going to make my third episode. And I had to fly out to California for an emergency trip. What ended up happening was I'm not exactly sure what was wrong. Fluid was building up in his thoracic cavity, I think. Some other things, he couldn't really talk, but he was still conscious. So anyways, I was supposed to do a conspiracy theory podcast with my cousin Turner of the All Out War podcast. And he was going to educate us on, QAnon and a whole bunch of other things. Clinton body count. Although I'm probably get shadow banned for saying that, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, we're supposed to go on that, and then my mom and I thought it'd be disrespectful to, just keep going just chugging along the train. We were there in California to see him, so I figured I might as well do that. I'm going to spend as much time with him as I could without crying or, just not being there. Not physically, I meant mentally. Sometimes when things get hard, you just want to check out. But it was nice because I got to actually say goodbye, which I know a lot of people haven't been able to do. I feel really badly about that. About how some people just haven't had that opportunity. A lot's happened this year besides that, too. I'll start off with the good, though. Although we've been in this enclosed sort of atmosphere for some time now, I've been able to meet people. People who've made my life a lot better. I've been able to grow certain relationships. To be honest, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the kids, they're going to see this, but a lot of kids in my school I kind of grew away from. and a lot of kids who didn't, church friends and other things I grew really close to, especially earlier in the year. Guess it's time to get to the lost, huh? One of the losses was my grandfather. Another one was a killer of motivation. I'm in my junior year right now of high school. I'd end up starting it off with generally low grades. And I'm not going to disclose because I'll leave you up to your imagination for that. But it was pretty bad. I ended up being able to turn a lot of it around, but I know a lot of other kids were feeling this too. Grades plummeting, people getting behind on assignments, especially for all my public school friends out there who are stuck on their computers. Feel bad about that. I've been blessed to be in a in-school private environment where it's still safe. Very thankful for that, actually. But still, a lot happened this year. Forgive me, I didn't necessarily come to this prepared. But tonight, I didn't have the desk set up or anything like I normally do. I'll have that up in future episodes. But tonight, I just kind of got some black things behind me, although you can kind of see that there. It's kind of bad on my part, but, I put this together and I just thought I needed to get something out there for my viewership, as small as it may be. I literally have you guys in boxes, and I have a lamp in front of me for lighting. Oh man, I'm sure I'm overexposed half the time, but we're gonna keep going with it anyways. I'm gonna add some more good here. I was able to start this podcast, something that I never thought I'd be able to do. I always thought I'd be too busy and I wouldn't have enough time, and but then I got some extra time. I didn't have to drive as much, and I didn't have to be at school as much at the second semester of my sophomore year. It's 4 hours instead of 8, which was really nice every day. So I had a lot of time on my hands. So I used it to be productive. I started my own photography company, or well, I shouldn't say company, I should say business. Mainly open to friends and family right now, but soon to be open to the general public for the local DMV area. The Lafferty Effect on Instagram. Started this podcast. I ended up being during pretty much the height of quarantine, I was working out every day. Consistently. I was hiking at least 5 days a week. I was keeping myself in an extremely great shape. And I was still improving on my lacrosse goalie skills too. I don't remember if a lot of my friends remember that from the previous episodes, but that is still a dream of mine to play during college. It's still a big idea. And to be fair, I'm still not sure if I'm there yet. I don't think I am. Although, to be fair, I'll never think I am. I'll never think I'm good enough, although I may be. But at least it doesn't keep it boring. It means I always have a place to go. Never be satisfied with my job. That's how you grow. But I've also taken a lot of this year for self-reflection. Since I have a lot of time on my hands and I am a generally large thinker, although with a small head. I just realized there's no energy drink in this podcast. Man, I should have gotten rain. No, I would be up all night. I gotta go to bed after this. But in general, I was able to look at a lot of things. And although I know some of my family is still struggling, I'm going to bring up my grandfather's death again because it's a kind of a big role in this year. Although some of my family are still struggling with it, I made peace with it pretty quickly. As many of you may know, I'm a Christian. I hold to that dearly, as best as I can, though I still fall short all the time. But I knew that my grandfather was a faithful servant for a lot of his life, including up until the end. And I don't have to ever worry about where he went. It's just something that I know. So I've always been able to take solace in that, and that's how I was able to really move on from it. Because although I keep referring to it, it really didn't affect me much throughout my year, as bad as that may sound. Probably because I had, in a way, 4 years of grieving before that, but I won't get into that on here. That's it's family business. So yeah. It's been a lot of good times with friends too. Actually, on that California trip, I got to see a good friend of mine who used to live out here, but then she ended up moving out with a lot of her family down to California. And actually, that's home for me, by the way. Actually, I said that on the Q&A podcast. Yes, I did. Anaheim, California, baby. No, but we're out in Newport because that's where my grandfather was staying at the time. It was really nice. I had missed the beach. I had missed seeing all my friends that were back in California. Still are. So although something horrific ended up happening on that trip, I don't necessarily regret it for two reasons. One, I got to see friends and family in a place that I used to hold dear. Although I could never move back there. Just too many, I don't know, too many factors for me not to move back, but I will visit. And then there's the other reason why the trip wasn't so bad. I know my grandfather's at peace now. It's nice because I actually got to read the Bible to him in some of his last days. What I read to him, I couldn't remember if I tried, which I am, and I can't remember. I want to say something in James, but I really can't remember for the life of me. I read for a while. Page by page. Chapter by chapter. Let's jump to another good thing. For a while, there was ambition. Lots of it. Probably because of the amount of free time I ended up having. I almost started streaming Warzone, actually. I got pretty good at it, and then I wanted to stream, but I didn't have the equipment, and of course all the equipment that I did want to buy was sold out. There was also the thought of venturing out into training and other things with firearms, acquiring different gear, and just kind of preparing for what future may hold if something were to happen. But God, please forbid that nothing will happen. It's funny, some people ask, why do you train and stuff? And the reason why I come back, the thing I come back to is that I'd rather be prepared and hope for the best than not be prepared and the worst come upon me. That's why. It's funny, there's a guy named Travis Haley. He said, the thing we train for is the 1%, but it's the 1% you can't mess up. Because that's your life. And you know what? He's right. I don't carry or anything, but I'll say one thing to people to do. It's not a job, it's a calling. Because the one day you have to pull that out and use it, it's going to be one of the worst days of your life, and you're going to have to live with it for the rest of it. So treat it like one. Sorry, I know that was a bit of a tangent, but of course, ADHD, right? I'm just going to say what's going to come to my mind. It's one of the things that I do on this podcast, or try to do, is unfiltered. Generally unedited. What's funny, my buddy John keeps saying, Daniel, you need to edit your videos. And I'm like, no. Maybe like beginning and end, like intro things, but never the actual podcast. It's just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. It feels disingenuous. I'm not sure how long I'll leave this running. I see it's at 15 minutes, but I'm going to try to keep going a little bit, add some substance. Tell my Christians out there who are going to church online. I know it's hard. I know the government is saying some things right now. But you truly do need to find a church that you can go to. I know it's scary. I know it's dangerous. Although, to be fair, for our age group, not really. And I get, but here's the thing. You can still practice social distancing and wear masks and stuff like that. You still can. Actually, I'd say McLean Bible has done a great job of having people being able to still go into church. There are a lot of other churches who've stood up to the local government and said, hey, we need to congregate. But the reason why it's important is because you do need to go to church. You need to go be with your brothers and sisters. Doing stuff online is not enough. And I can guarantee that. Here's the thing. There was a sermon recently talking about this. And one of the things that was said was that God appoints pastors to shepherd his congregation. And God appointed those people to be there to protect your soul. Now, I know some people who are going to watch this are atheistic and they're not going to want to hear this, but it's important. For all Christians out there, you need to start going to church. Online will never be enough. Especially if you think that you can sustain your... Actually, I'll tell you guys a story. It's a pastor at my church who told this story, actually. He used to work out. And at one point, he started feeling a weird pain here in his bicep. That is not your bicep. In his left pec. And he thought... And he went to the doctor, and the doctor was asking him, hey, is there anything else you want to talk about? And at first, he wasn't going to bring it up, but then he ended up saying, yeah... I kind of want to talk about this, like I got this weird pain in my left pec, but I think I know what it is. I think it's that, hey, I think I just tore a muscle. I think it's regrowing. I think it's why it hurts. The doctor gave him a look, being like, well, how do you know that? You're not the expert, I am. So he went and did an MRI, and it had to be, and it was actually a cyst that had to be surgically removed. The point of that story is that we can't do things on our own all the time. And I said this in the last podcast. We can't always see into ourselves. We need someone who will look into us and pour into us. Now, did I probably just butcher that whole sermon? Yes, I probably did. But I hope you all get some of the point of that. And it's that our pastors are people who should be shepherding us. They should be looking into us and kind of seeing what's wrong. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to know every little detail, but they should be able to at least tell. At least if you've been with them for long enough. And it's hard, but you need to get out to your churches. Bible talks a lot about it too. How we need to be. Actually, I'll just bring this up. We're made to live in community, not alone. And we've seen this in nature. There's a reason why tribalism existed. I'm not saying I agree with tribalism. I think it's a horrific idea, and I'm glad that the West has brought up the idea of individualism, because it gets us away from tribalism and it keeps us in a more civil society. And I'd say a more just society. It's one of the reasons why I don't like identity politics. Oh man, I'm already going there. No, I'm not going there tonight. I will talk about that at some point, though, and how I hate it and how it's really bad idea. But yeah. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of my ideas are probably going to be misrepresented, and I probably didn't share them in the best of lights, but I hope y'all could take something away from that. I'm also trying to remember if there's anything else from this this year that were either good or bad memories. Oh, I went to Ocean City with a good friend of mine in July to go see his family. That was interesting. Boardwalk was opening up. Not too many people out there, though. I tried. This podcast is more like a memoir at this point, which is kind of funny. I want you guys to type something in the comments. How many of y'all have met people online? Like gone on something like Yubo or Tinder or something like that, and then like actually met up with people like throughout the pandemic, like or like made new friends. I'm curious. I'm curious as to hear about that. I know it's really random, but I am curious. I'm gonna leave this off with one question. And I'm not really gonna get into it in this podcast, but you're more than likely, if you want, hit me up on any social media, or who knows, maybe I'll come back to this podcast and I'll answer this question with questions that you guys have, and please put them in the comments. Although to be fair, I'm not sure how many people are gonna see this video. And it's, do you know where you're going after you die? Like, do you really? Because as of I know it, there's only two places that you could potentially go to. It's either joining Jesus up in heaven or hell. And you're going to stay there forever and ever. There's a really important choice you got to make while you're still here on earth before you die. And that's something that I want you all to research and come back with for another episode of this podcast. I'm going to say one more thing before I leave. I'm not going to curse this year, ever. Although coronavirus and some other things were really hard, I want to bless it and move on. Because a lot of good things came out of this year for me too. And I know for a lot of other people it did too. A lot of different business owners, sure, in some industries, especially restaurant industries and stuff like that, took a hard hit. But I know the defensive industry and a lot of others that took a really big boost this year. Now, where's that going to lead in the future? I don't know. But I'm not just going to curse this year for a few things that happened. And although a lot of people died too, I think the world stage did as much as it probably could, or at least a lot of it. And we also remember that we're depending on flawed people. So, I'm excited to leave this year and start the new one. So goodbye, 2020. And ladies and gentlemen, please have a merry and happy new year.